it's Reagan and welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing a super exciting winter Black Friday book haul. Basically, I have been accumulating books for the past 2 months, and so I have so many to show off. I don't know where the time's gone. I don't know why I've shown you these books yet, but here we are with a huge, big book haul. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. So the first stack of books are actually all from Book of the Month, the YA edition. I'm super honored to be saying again that I am partnering with Book of the Month. As you guys know, I have been a huge fan of this service for years. I have been a paying subscriber of this service for years. If you're not familiar, Book of the Month is an amazing monthly book subscription service. Every month they essentially curate 5 titles from a variety of different genres. I really love the diversity of genres that they include. For me personally, it kind of provides me with an opportunity to discover so many different types of titles and books from different authors. They also curate them and have amazing blurbs to kind of give why they were selected for the month. And from there, you basically select one of the books from the curated list, and it's $14.99, and they send it right to your door. And you can also add as many books as you want, additionally, all hardcover for $9.99 after that, both from the monthly curated list and also from past lists. So there's literally so many books to pick from because Book of the Month's been around for like over 100 years. It's a super convenient service, and if you're not interested in the curated books for 1 month, you can easily skip. There's absolutely no penalty involved with that. Hi everyone, it's Future Reagan coming at you from my mom's house because I have some coupon codes hot off the press for you guys that I wanted to insert in this video so you had them because they're good until the end of the year. The first one is Yes5, which gives new members their first box for only $5, and this is good till 12/31. I also have Perfect 10, which gives you $10 off a 6 or 12 month gift. So if you guys are interested in those, they'll be down below, but I also just wanted to pop in and verbally tell you about them as well. But without further ado, let's go ahead and chat through the books. I have every single Book of the Month YA title from the December box, and oh my goodness, the selections are so good this month, so let's just dive right in. So the first book I'm going to talk about, honestly, is one of my most anticipated books of the year, and I definitely squealed a little bit when I opened it up and saw that this was included, and that is The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. This is the third book to this really dark and captivating Fae story. We follow our main character Jude, who is a human living in the Fae world, and basically for most of her life she's been kind of tormented by the Faes around her. They're beautiful but honestly very cruel. However, at the beginning of the first book, Jude is offered an opportunity to seize some power back for herself, and that's kind of where this book takes off. It's full of so much court intrigue, so much hate to love romance. I am reading this 100% ASAP. I cannot wait to see what happens. The second book left me reeling, so I'm so pumped to have the third one in my hand. Next book included in the box is one that sounds right up my alley as well. That is Dangerous Alliance. This is an ostentatious romance, and it is a historical fiction style novel where we basically follow a main character that's kind of a bit down on her luck. Essentially, Lady Victoria Ashton has everything she could ever want: an older sister happily wed, a future of her family estate secure, an ample opportunity. However, her sister's husband ends up being a terrible person, and she finds herself in a situation where she needs to find and secure herself a marriage to make sure that she can sustain her own life moving forward. But she knows that her romance is not going to end up like one of her favorite novels by Jane Austen. Or does it? It's no secret that I love Jane Austen. I love an idea of a historical fiction novel inspired by Jane Austen tales and hopefully has some of the amazing and endearing components of those romances. This sounds super charming and a really quick read, and I absolutely love the cover, so I'm super pumped to have this as well. The next book included in the box is a super excited debut, and that is Reverie, and this sounds super intriguing. We follow our main character Kane, who basically wakes up half dead in a river. He doesn't know how he got there, he doesn't know what's going on, but all he knows is that he doesn't really remember anything. And it's not just Kane who feels different because he can't quite place who and where he's supposed to be, but the world itself seems off, especially when he's kind of encountering individuals that claim to be his best friends, but he has no idea who they are, and all of a sudden the gymnasium at his high school is turning into a lost ruined temple, or all of a sudden he's transported to Victorian England. The fabric of reality is basically changing constantly around Kane, and basically an ominous force begins to threaten reality itself, and I think he has to save the day. This just sounds so interesting. I love the idea of like multiple alternative realities possibly colliding. This could involve illusions. I'm not totally sure, but it definitely sounds really intriguing, so I'm pumped to find out. Next just sounds like honestly an adorable romantic comedy, YA, like fluffy romance, which is my favorite kind of contemporary to read, and that is Heartstrings and Other Breakable Things. And this follows our main character, Edie Price, who the summer before her basically going away to college, she's kind of focused on just like applying applications, working, normal, summery type things. She's experienced some tragedy in her life with her mother passing away, and her best friend is kind of focused on like getting her set up in a Cinderella romantic situation, but she's honestly not interested. But she does, of course, find herself in the middle of a love triangle between two boys, one a childhood sweetheart, and of course the local bad boy. This honestly has all the kind of amazing, adorable tropes that sound really intriguing and honestly addicting and cute. I'm excited to see what I think about this, but honestly, I always like to have a nice fluffy contemporary romance on hand because you never know when you need like a smile put on your face. And the very last book included this month for the December YA Book of the Month selection sounds super intriguing and very dark and honestly a little screwed up, and that is Where the World Ends. It follows our main character Quill, who every summer him and his friends kind of go to this remote rock in the middle of the ocean where they hunt birds. However, this is a very desolate place. There's not a lot of resources. There's not an easy way to get back to shore, but it's just kind of like an adventure that him and his friends always do. And they're usually always picked up, but this year no one arrived to get them to bring them back. And in their minds, only the end of the world could have brought this on, which kind of opens a novel which I think is gonna be very dark, Lord of the Flies, possibly in its style, because this novel apparently descends into kind of the root of humanity. What does man do when they're left with absolutely nothing? I think it's going to be intense, it might be violent, it might be dark, but it sounds really intriguing. And for that reason, I am particularly interested to pick this up as well. But yes, this is definitely honestly moving to the top of my TBR list. Alrighty guys, those are all of the December YA Book of the Month books. Again, I will have a link to sign up and coupon codes down below. Seriously, I'm so honored to be working with Book of the Month now twice this year. I could cry. I'm such a fan of them, so this is really exciting, and I hope you guys enjoyed the books as well. But now moving on to the rest of the books in the book haul, because I still have a lot. First, I have The Burning White by Brent Weeks, which is 100% one of my most anticipated books of the year. This is the final volume to the Lightbringer series. I've had so many comments, so many DMs asking me if I had this book, if I've read this book yet, and to be honest, I have not read it yet. And I'm so shamed by this fact. That's why I haven't like responded, because I'm like shamed by it. I'm like, I know I need to have read this. I haven't read it yet because I need to like do a deep reread and like summary reread and hopefully try to find some spoiler summaries online of the previous books, because it's just been so long and I don't want to go into this book disoriented. I want to make sure I'm very, placed in the story and I know what's going on, all the characters and everything. But this is one of my favorite high fantasy series. It's a really interesting novel with a super cool and unique world. Basically, the magic system's based on the spectrum of light, and people can kind of control different colors in the spectrum, and the different colors have different powers. The more colors you can control, the more powerful you are. But there's an interesting component to the magic that is, the more you use it, the quicker you die. So it has like a negative impact on a magic wielder, which makes like going to war and training young people to use magic like this a very conflicted approach. So I'm so excited to have this. I need to read it, but I need to prepare myself first. Speaking of books I'm super excited about, I also have The Toll by Neil Shusterman, and this is a book I'm actually reading. This is the third novel to the arc of the Scythes series, I believe it's called, the Scythe arc series, which is honestly my favorite Neil Shusterman series of all time. It's dark, it's just amazing. It's like a dystopian style world. Humankind has basically solved all possible ills or problems. Poverty, crime, illness, dying of old age have all been dealt with, so therefore the only way people can die is if a designated individual called the Scythe can kill them. This is one of the most intriguing worlds, combining, comments on technology and society at large, and you can kind of see how our world can like turn into this world so easily. It's a wild ride. Like, I'm not super far into this third book, but I can already tell you I'm loving it. and this series is just by far and away one of my favorites. So good. Next two books are books I picked up from the regular Book of the Month box from November, and the first one is The Great Pretender, and this follows 8 individuals who went undercover in America's asylum system, and basically they went in healthy, and it's really, and this is a true story which makes it all the more wild, but they went undercover into asylums around America to test the legitimacy of psychiatry labels, and they were forced to remain inside of these asylums until they could prove that they were healthy. They all had really alarming diagnosis upon entry, even though they all knew that they actually didn't have those diagnoses. So it's basically just kind of a look into this study that was conducted, and a really important one because I do believe it cracked open a lot of reform in this particular area in America. This is a nonfiction novel. It just sounded really, really interesting. So I picked it up, and honestly, I want to read more nonfiction, so I just was super intrigued by this. And then I also grabbed Song of the Crimson Flower, which was one of my most anticipated books of the winter. It is actually a lot shorter than I was anticipating, but this is just a really interesting sounding YA fantasy story that kind of caught my eye. It basically follows a boy and a girl. The girl is from a more wealthy stature. A boy like proposes to her, she turns him down, and then she kind of changes her mind and she has to like go after him and save him in some sort of like romantic tale kind of way. I'm hoping this is just like really lyrical, really beautiful, kind of fairy tale-esque. Very intrigued. I've been wanting to read a book by this author for a long time, so this particular new release really caught my eye, so decided to grab this and start here with this author. All right, we're in the home stretch. I only have 2 more books to talk about. The first one being Keeper of the Lost City's Legacy by Shannon Messenger. This is book 8 to the Keeper series, and I cannot believe, 1, I've read 8 books with this series, and 2, the fact that I've already read this book and I have to wait like another 2 years for the next one to come out. But mostly, I loved it, and I love this series. This is just a series I talk non-stop about on my channel. But the 8th book did come out in October. I picked it up. It was amazing. And this is just like the most entertaining and lovable middle grade fantasy series that has so many elements, so many characters, and magic, and powers, and political conflict, and really like dynamic emotional things that are often explored. It just has so many layers that I love, and I would die for Keefe, which I feel like I always have to say. And this book had a lot of Keefe, and I just will always be grateful for it for that fact. So got this, obviously, read it, loved it. Read this series if you haven't. And the very last book I picked up is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. Not gonna lie, I was in London, and I do wish I delayed on pre-ordering this in America and bought the UK edition because it is so beautiful. But regardless, I'm really pumped to have this. I have actually never read a book by Erin Morgenstern before. The Night Circus is a super famous, very beloved novel that I just have not gotten to yet. Her new book came out, so I decided maybe that was a good place to start with her, but I know her writing is apparently lyrical and so beautiful, and this is kind of, I believe, like a very transportive style novel. We follow a main character that discovers like this library, and he begins to read stories, and they're all like ancient tales of, you know, heroes and success and the rise and fall of empires and all those things. But then he comes across a story that is from his own childhood within a book. And from there, I think the books begin to kind of like parallel his life, and they send him on like tasks and journeys around New York City, which just sounds really, really interesting. I'm hoping this is like mysterious and magical, but we shall see. I've heard good things, but you know, I'll let you know. Alrighty guys, those are all of the books I picked up for this book haul. Let me know down below some books you've gotten recently, as I would love to know, and I'll see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!